Let's go, baby. Let's go. I was so focused. Holy shit, I was so fucking focused. Oh my god, dude. Really quick, I have bigger, better videos coming. Just stay tuned for that. I just had to get this off my chest because it's something I'm passionate about. It's a game that I love, probably my favorite game of all time. And this just happened and I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with myself other than do what I know how to do, which is make something about it. This video is about a DLC for a game that was not very well received. So you're gonna see right down here, I'm gonna put some comments from just places I've seen on the internet just to kind of give you the idea of the sentiment around this DLC. Risk of Rain 2 Seekers of the Storm came out and people were upset. So let's talk about it. What happened? This DLC was announced maybe last year, maybe the year before. I don't remember the exact date or time frame for that. But it definitely got people excited. I mean, Survivors of the Void was insanely good, so people were excited for the next taste of what this universe had to offer. And aside from sharing things here and there, they basically went silent, especially when it came to like a release date. Until one day when they said, hey, this release date is coming here in a couple days. That came and went, and the release date was only a week away from that moment. So obviously I was excited. I was expecting like a December, November release. Then a week later, the DLC dropped and people did not like it for plenty of reasons that we will explain here. They dropped this DLC and it had a ton of bugs, even like little quality of life things. I mean, there was issues for things that we didn't even know were gonna be issues. There were many game-breaking bugs as well as quality of life bugs. Things that were quality of life that we had before that we no longer had. Things like outlines for the multi-shop terminals as well as the adaptive chests. Not to mention, part of this rollout for this announcement for this expansion is that it was going to be split screen on console, and Xbox just didn't have a game for 3 days. They could not get past the main menu unless you did one thing. You could plug in a second controller and that would get you past the main menu, but at the same time that would also wipe all of your game file. Let me reiterate, this is a game that people spend hundreds and thousands of hours in, and you could just wipe all that progress and there's no getting that back. That to me is just wild. But anyway, we'll talk more about the DLC itself here in a little bit. But for now, I want to talk about how we kind of got here. What changed? What happened? Why did this get released when it did and as it was? This, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't expect anybody to be watching this video who doesn't already know what happened, but I'm going to rehash it. This is another classic example of people wanting money now and not caring about who or what they step on to get it. And I'm aware this is coming off as like a super negative video right now. This is gonna turn around, I promise, because I actually love this DLC. But first we need to talk about all the negative stuff, everything that happened, everything that transpired leading up to the release of this DLC. Basically, it went like this. Hopoo Games, the creator of Risk of Rain 2, they made Survivors of the Void with Gearbox. Gearbox did basically all of the stages for it, and they were amazing. Even Hopoo themselves were like, dude, these people are pretty good. We feel good about them. So Hopoo decided to sell the IP to Gearbox, which in and of itself is not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, maybe not so obvious at the time, Gearbox does care about this IP, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But just a couple months after that, Gearbox then got acquired by Take-Two. Now, Take-Two, to me, are the real bad guys in this situation. In my personal headcanon, this DLC needed more time to bake, and the devs knew that. I wouldn't be surprised if they were going for like a November, December launch time, especially around Christmas. But I think Take-Two wanted some of that money back that they spent buying Gearbox. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this publisher and studio. So they want some of that money now, especially after that Borderlands movie flopped. I will say, Randy Pitchford white knighting for his employees it wasn't on my bingo card for this year, but I think this shit is just funny. He's like, I will take the blame for this, me and all my millions of dollars Of course you're gonna take the blame for it, bro. We know you don't care. I wouldn't care about shit like this if I was a millionaire. I'll be honest with you. Anyway, like I said, I don't think Gearbox are really the bad guys here. You know, Randy Pitchford is like a piece of shit on his own. Like, but separating the actual devs from that, I don't think Gearbox are the bad guys. I really think Take-Two had a lot to do with this. For a developer that has been around the block with this specific IP and this specific game, so much so that Hopu felt comfortable selling it to them and feeling like the game was in good hands, I don't think they're the bad guys. But let's talk about the DLC and update itself. When this thing dropped, what did we get? What is the content? What are the bugs? And I was actually I still kind of am. I'm very annoyed with the community and how they responded to this update. It's completely valid for people to feel like the bugs overshadow the content of the game, because it basically did. But the DLC and the update are two different things. Like, to me, the new boss is actually great. I like him way better than the Voidling. He's actually challenging. Not that the Voidling wasn't, but Voidling was just not very engaging to fight. The art style is amazing and it fits the lore of the game perfectly. Like, False Sun actually looks like something that was corrupted from the inside out. But all that said, I think there are two things that are a part of this actual DLC release that I think fell a little bit short. Those two things being the elites as well as the items. There were two elite types added, one gilded, one twisted. Gilded is tanky as hell. They are hard to kill. They take your money when they hit you, and I think they take your money when you hit them as well. That's not confirmed. The wiki isn't even updated on this yet. I am now very broke. Like, Gilded is annoying, but it's fine considering the theming of the DLC. I think they fit fine. Twisted elites, on the other hand, are a problem in and of themselves. They work like this. They have a giant bubble around them, and if there are any monsters inside that bubble that take damage before them, you just take unblockable damage. Which, in a game that prioritizes and encourages proc chains, it's not a good combination. For example, say I spawn into a stage, there's a twisted across the stage, right? And I damage this beetle right in front of me. And say I have ukulele. My chains from one monster to the next, and it reaches something in that bubble across the map. I could be hiding out in a cubby on this side of the map. And if that monster takes damage, I'm taking damage. I'm taking unblockable damage. There's nothing you can do about it. And it was completely out of my control because I can't control where my lightning chains to, which is crazy when like 70% of the damage builds in the game are based off proc chains, which leads me to agree with the community sentiment around this. That is, these things, the way they are now, do not belong in the game. It's just basically fun police. But let's switch gears. Let's talk about the items. And let me make this clear. There is no way at all that these items were going to stack up against the Survivors of the Void items without causing an insane spike in power creep. When you add a whole separate class of items, being Void items in the Survivors of the Void DLC, that was a power creep spike in and of itself. But if you were going to try to better that, it just would have been insane and just kind of no fun. Even with that said though, these items are not good. There's like 2 to 3 good ones and the rest are just kind of eh. Holy shit. Let's go. I will say though, I'm glad they're here because they're just scrap fodder at that point, basically. Like, scrappers and printers are a thing. So I think this is just more or less kind of a non-issue. We got a couple really great items out of it, and the rest we just get to turn into the items that we actually like. Now, moving off of content, the problems arise when what coincided with this DLC drop was an update to the code of the entire game. Console parity is sick, and I'm really glad that we will most likely never have a Survivors of the Void situation again where they didn't get the DLC till over a year after PC did. But the result of doing that so rushed is it caused a lot of the game logic to be based off of and tied to the frame rate of the game. That's like the main thing a majority of the people were actually upset about. That one thing just permeated through the entire game and made the whole thing just feel not as good as it did before. And it was so crazy to some degree too, because even like The modders looked at the code for the game, and some of them even gave up. They're like, I'm not touching that. They're like, what is this? And even one of the Hopu devs themselves were like, what is this code? The sentiment from the modders were basically just, there are a lot of like fundamental things that are like game design 101 that are wrong here. But anyway, Gearbox has patched the game at this point, and they open the patch notes by saying, hey, we know this fell short of expectations. And the thing is, I don't even think that's true. There were just bugs everywhere. I don't think the expectations for the DLC itself were like astronomical. I mean, if anything, people were just skeptical to see what Gearbox was going to do with it. Like, I think most people just kind of expected another update similar in size to Survivors of the Void, and that's kind of what we got. They then go on to list off all of the things that they fixed, which honestly was a majority of the headaches in the game, and is an impressive update for only being like, what, a week? Like, that's what the time frame was or something like that. All FPS game logic fixed. Outlines are back in multi-shops and adaptive chests. Mithrix is not invincible anymore, which, by the way, that was an issue as well. The game just completely bricked itself if Mithrix took a certain item from you, or a certain combination of items. I think in hindsight, I am glad that we're getting some kind of course correction, because not every game that, you know, has DLC or a launch that the bed immediately is getting that. But really quick, I want to go ahead and look at some Steam reviews. Now, I do want to throw out there that I'm not hating on these people. I know that they are completely entitled to their opinions. If this is how the game made them feel, this is how the game made them feel. There's no backtracking that. There's no changing that. But I chose these ones because I either disagreed or agreed with something that they said, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. So here's the first one I saw. Only buy this if you are prepared to install an item blacklist mod. The new boss is fun, the new maps are pretty, and the new skins look great. However, the new survivors are one-trick ponies that end up being really boring to play. Worst of all are the items. They dilute the item pool with completely useless items and slow down gameplay like crazy, as you see less movement items and are spending more time scrapping the new junk and printing the old ones that you do, you know, actually like playing the game with, I'm assuming. I think he had a grammatical error in there. With the items, this is a completely valid stance. I don't disagree to some extent, but like I said earlier, they're there to be scrapped, and scrapping and printing are one of the few ways that in this roguelike, you are able to influence your run. A lot of these games are RNG based. A lot of Risk of Rain is RNG based. And that little bit of influence you have over it is huge. So to have more items that I feel comfortable scrapping, I'm not opposed to that. Because before, white items, it was like, boom, roll of pennies. And that was basically it. Maybe like bison steak, and that was it. The other ones, I had a use for pretty consistently. So to have new things like the knockback fin added, it's cool. I like it. It's all right. But like, I'm going to scrap that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But the main thing I think I disagree with here is the one-trick pony survivor thing. I'll be honest, I really like the new survivors. I didn't talk about them purposefully in the content section of the video earlier because I wanted to talk about them here. I have an issue with only one survivor that was added. Seeker is really cool. Seeker is a lot of fun to play. False Sun, spoilers, there's a playable character. He's really fun to play. He's probably my favorite to play out of all three. The main new survivor that I have issue with is Chef. He just feels really bad. The movement is bad. The fucking left click, the main damaging ability feels weird. I think my biggest issue though is just the movement. It's so bad. If you don't get 7 goat hooves by stage 3, you're just dying. You're just dead. There's no way around it. Of course, that's just a skill issue. I play on mainly Monsoon and Eclipse. I just have never had this much failure with one survivor so consistently. Please don't give me Vagrant. Please don't give me Vagrant. Fuck. Where the fuck are you guys coming from? Holy shit. I really just took all of that to the dome. Alright, sick. Oh my. I'm gonna die here. That's a fucking Templar, bro. Why are you full health, bruh? There's 2 of them. There's 2 of them. There's two of them. Holy sh. Oh my god, this is a show. This is a goddamn show. This is the... Huh? Please, please, don't do this. Oh my god, please. God damn it, bro. That was a fucking shit show. I cannot stand this character, bro. I cannot stand him. He does no damage. Half the time your primary fire isn't even up. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. This run was gonna be fucking great. I don't understand this at all. I don't get why they thought that would be a good idea for this fucking character. Let me spam M1, bro. I didn't want to install a mod, but I'm going to because this character is just fucking useless without it. Bro, like my mouse button is down 70% of the time. Bro, I don't understand. They butchered my favorite character from Risk of Rain 1. I don't understand, bro. I could keep going. I could keep talking. But I'm not. This is gonna take years off my life if I keep going. 27 minutes stage 2, bro. 27. Like I said, I could keep going. Let me. Either all the stars are aligning and I'm just getting bad runs consistently, or the character is not that good. But like False Sun, so much fun to play with. I didn't even know there was a beam bug in the game until it was already removed, so I didn't even play with that, and that thing still shreds. But anyway, let's move on to the next review. This one is definitely spicier. Do yourself a favor and pretend this DLC never existed. Not only is the content completely incoherent with the base game and the previous DLC, it also introduces bugs to aspects of the game the DLC shouldn't even touch. If you're looking for more content, you can find higher quality add-ons with less bugs, and it's all free on Thunderstore. I cannot recommend spending money on this, unfortunately. Thunderstore is like the mod store for Risk of Rain. It does a bunch of other games too, but that's like the main one that the Risk of Rain mods go on. My main thing that I disagree with here, obviously other than a majority of it, right? Like the overarching don't buy the DLC. I don't agree with that. I think this is great. It's worth your money. But do yourself a favor and pretend this DLC never existed. That didn't rub me the right way, because as an artist myself, there are people who have been working on this for over a year. We might be looking at like years, plural, of time spent working on this. And we're talking about devs. We're talking about front-end devs, back-end devs. We're talking about artists. Oh my god, the artists that popped off for this DLC. And you're just saying, pretend it never existed. Don't even acknowledge it. Like, if I just spent a year and a half making a storyline for this False Sun character and making all the art for it and really putting my heart and soul into telling the story, and I have people saying pretend it never existed, like, I would feel a way about it. And I feel a way about it, and I'm not even the one who worked on the DLC. I get what they're saying, like there's content that's completely incoherent with the base game. Like, definitely Twisted Elites are in that category for me, but that's really the only thing that I can think of that would fit under that. And introducing bugs to aspects of the game that the DLC shouldn't even touch, that was just a byproduct of redoing the code base to get console parity. Of course, that's still an issue. It's still going to be an issue probably for another little bit, but I just don't think that a review for the DLC itself should be dictated on code for the base game. On to the last review I kind of want to touch on. This one's definitely a recommended review. It's definitely a little bit more positive, but kind of what I was just saying, this person definitely has that same mentality that I do. And I'm not going to read this whole review, just this first paragraph, because kind of like what I was just saying, they kind of touch on how the DLC and the game should be looked at separate. Let me start this review by saying that people are overreacting. The worst of the bugs people harp on have been fixed, and even then, the bugs didn't alter the game unless playing on specs. The game was not intended to be played on. I play the game with all settings on their standard levels, and I've been an avid fan of the game ever since it was in beta. In addition, these bugs and issues do not come from the DLC, but from the game. This is strictly a review about the DLC and not the game. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the DLC. I think that's partially why I feel a way about this DLC being review bombed. While on one hand, I completely understand because the code base ruining things that worked before, people are frustrated with it, and I understand that. But to review the DLC itself based off of things that are just wrong with the base game now, I don't know, I just feel like there should be a little bit of grace there. But in conclusion, I love this game and I don't want to see it fall to corporate greed. There are very broad stroke things that are very wrong with the game industry right now, and I just don't want to see this game fall to a place that it can't recover. This game is an indie darling that may never get its charm back if this update is the type of stuff that our future holds. Because it's money over passion. It's anger over understanding. Zero positive intent makes this world a worse place. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.
Right before my eyes, opposite the shade, blinded by the glitter on your face. I could stick the sky, let it rain. Oh, how I am while I'm great, fucking up my chance since it's okay. All the